Hello friends, NCERT Botany, next episode. In this episode, we'll be discussing about anatomy of flowering plants, third one. So what all things we'll be discussing in this episode? For that I will share the screen, so it will be convenient for you. I think screen here. So we can proceed. So this is the chapter 6, anatomy of flowering plants, third one. Topics mainly discussed. 1, an introduction, then tissue systems, then questions. In tissue system, only 2 will be discussing in this episode. Third one, vascular tissue system, in the next episode. So we can get into introduction. As an introduction of this area, see previous episodes of anatomy dealing with the different types of cells. And here we'll be discussing about what is meant by the term tissue system. What are the different types? How the different type of systems came. All these aspects will be introduced in this episode. So we can enter tissue system. I already told you, previous episode, we are discussing about cells, different types of cells, Parenchyma, Collenchyma, Sclerenchyma, Xylem, Phloem, then their nature, structure, their function. But here in this episode, we'll be discussing which area these cells are located, locations, and how tissues will be arranged in that locations. And based on the arrangement of the cells and based on the position where it is located, how efficiently things will be done. Functions will be efficiently done. That aspect will be discussed in tissue system. Because we should know what we are going to study. Any subject, anywhere, anytime, any place. So this is what we are going to study in this episode. I think idea clear. Basically, 3 types of tissue system. According to NCERT, we have to proceed. One is epidermal tissue system. This is tissue system. To save a space, I just put TS, not transverse section, tissue system. Second, ground or fundamental tissue system. And third one is vascular tissue system. So third one we'll be learning or doing in next episode. So we can enter into epidermal tissue system. I think first page is clear, so we can proceed to second page. So when we discuss with the epidermal tissue system, what is meant by the term epi? Epi always means above. Dermis means a layer. So epi means above, dermis means a layer. So this layer will be normally the outermost layer. And it has got 3 types of structures. One is epidermal cells. Second is epidermal structures. Third is epidermal appendages. So epidermal cell, epidermal structures, epidermal appendages. Everything marked there will be easy for you. Now, epidermal cells. It is the outermost layer of the primary plant body. It is made up of epidermal cells. Cells will be elongated, compactly arranged. It is continuous, usually single layer. And probably it will be parenchymatous with a small amount of cytoplasm lining the cell wall and a large vacuole. There is a waxy, thick layer outside the epidermis that is called cuticle, prevents loss of water. And cuticle is made up of a substance called cutain. In roots and hydrophytes, cuticle is absent. In some cases, we can find multilayered epidermis that is not directly in the NCERT still. Example for my multilayered epidermis plants, one is ficus, begonia, peperomia, velamina of orchids, and nerium, etc. I think idea clear, so we can proceed to next page. In monocot leaves, usually in the upper epidermis, there are certain specialized cells called bulliform cells or motor cells. In the next episode, we can find study the structure, etc. It causes lengthwise curling. Lengthwise curling of leaves. Purpose is to prevent extra loss of water. Root epidermis is otherwise called rhizodermis, piliferous layer or epiblema. Now comes epidermal structures. So cells over, now structures. Under epidermal structures, main item is stomata. Stomatal apparatus is a structure having guard cell, subsidiary cells, and stomatal pore or aperture. This is famous NCERT diagram. Previous NCERT has got a chapter called Transport in Plants. There we have to learn all the structure in detailed manner, how it opens, closes, everything. But presently, the chapter is not in NCERT, but in anatomy side, they're given about stomata. So we will be discussing it. And this is a famous diagram for labeling, identification, etc. Now, structure of guard cell. See, guard cells. Guard cell means this one. These two are guard cells here. These two are guard cells. So guard cells have two specific shapes. In dicot, it is having kidney shape. See this one, kidney shape, otherwise a reniform in shape. But in monocot, it is a dumbbell. Here we can find dumbbell shape. In both cases, you can find inner wall is thick. See, because it is needed for its physiological function. Then you can also find specifically in dicot stomata or guard cells, you can find chloroplast. So it's a famous diagram-based, theory-based question, even though it is anatomically we are studying. Now, after this, we can continue. What is the function of guard cells? Guard cells are concerned with the opening and closing of stomata based on the principle of turgidity, availability of water, lack of water, flaccidity. Guard cells have support from, here we can find continuation here, cellulose microfibrils which are radially arranged. That is structure-wise this one. Cellulose microfibrils radially arranged. Now, function of stomata connected with the transpiration and gaseous exchange. Now, surrounding the guard cells, we can find subsidiary cell. Here we can find label. Subsidiary cells. Specialized epidermal cells, also called accessory cell, support guard cells, and subsidiary cells also have no chloroplast in them. But guard cell have chloroplast in them, subsidiary cell no chloroplast in them. I think idea clear. Now we have to proceed to last component, that is epidermal appendages. Generally, appendages are outgrowth from the external surface of the body. Thus, epidermal appendages means outgrowth from epidermis, commonly in root and stem. Now, root, it is root hairs. When we come to root hairs, it is unicellular. It helps in the absorption of minerals and water from soil. And millions of root hairs will be there. And they'll be increasing the surface area for absorption, mainly by diffusion. And from where this root hairs has been formed, root hair forming cells are called trichoblast. Here you can find root hair forming cell, trichoblast, even though not in NCERT, are specialized cells in the root epidermis that form tubular root hairs. Now comes stem hairs. Stem hairs otherwise called trichomes. They are epidermal hairs on stem. It can be multicellular, maybe unicellular, branched, unbranched, can be stiff, can be soft. Function is to prevent loss of water. Also can be secretory, connected with the trapping of insect through secretions, etc. That is why it is called secretions. Now comes next tissue system, ground or fundamental tissue system. This tissue system forms the main bulk of the plant body, main bulk. This tissue system will not include epidermal tissue system and vascular tissue system. In between these two, in ground tissue system, or otherwise called fundamental tissue system. Here TS means tissue system. Various types of cells are involved because it's a massive area, like Parenchyma, Collenchyma, Sclerenchyma, etc. In fundamental or ground tissue system, various zones or areas can be identified like outer cortex, central pith area. In monocot stem, these zonations will not be observed or will not be clear. In leaves, ground tissue system is called, it's an important question, mesophyll. Photosynthesizing area in leaf, next episode we can study it. So mesophyll coming under ground tissue system. It's a famous question. From outer to inner, following zones can be identified. So mesophyll is a ground or fundamental tissue system in leaves. I think that idea is clear. So outer to inner, that layers or zones will be cortex, pericycle, pith. Everything marked there. First is cortex. Cortex starts from below epidermis. 3 areas can be identified below epidermis. So one is hypodermis, then massive area general cortex, then endodermis. So next is hypodermis. So when we come to hypodermis, hypo means below. So it is below epidermis. That means the outermost layer of cortex in stem. In root, hypodermis is absent. Now, hypodermis can be single or even multi-layer. In dicot stem, it is collenchymatous. While in monocot stem, it is sclerenchymatous that we need for practicals as well as NEET exam question. Function-wise, it is protective since outer layer after epidermis as well as photosynthetic if chlorophyll is present. I think idea clear. Now, next zone is general cortex. In stem, after hypodermis, next is general cortex. While in root, no hypodermis. So next after epidermis is general cortex. It may be few to many layers made up of basically parenchyma. It is thin wall. Intercellular spaces may or may not be present. Function-wise, it may be mechanical or can do photosynthesis if chloroplast is available, storage of food material. Then comes the next zone, it is called endodermis, innermost layer of cortex. So when we say endodermis, it connected with endodermis, there is a famous term stele, S-T-E-L-E. So what is stele? One mark theory question, NEET exam question, all this. So stele means all the tissues lying inner to endodermis. It is called stele. Stele starts from pericycle. Pericycle will be learning after this. Stele components include pericycle, vascular bundle, and pith. So endodermis lies in between general cortex and stele. Now we'll be continuing with the endodermis because some important aspects are there in endodermis. Usually endodermis is single layer, packed, elongated cells. Endodermis cells are barrel-shaped in transverse section. Endodermis cells are living, may contain starch grain. So that is why it is often called starch sheath. Now, a famous term, Casparian strips. The name came due to the scientist Robert Caspary. Photograph you can find there. Now, what is Casparian strip? It is a special kind of thickening or bands on the radial and tangential wall of endodermis. That is an important question. Now, Casparian strips have water impermeable material called suberin. Another important question. Then what movements are helped by? Because suberin will not allow water to pass through. So what movements are helped by? Passage cells on endodermis, where suberin is absent. Here spelling you can find is missing. Suberin is missing. Okay. So suberin is absent. Root endodermal cells permits only one-way direction. It is connected with a term symplast, but presently not in syllabus, symplast and apoplast. In root endodermis, it is present always. That is in roots. Endodermis is always present. While in stem, it may not be very distinct. So endodermis is a question area. Now again coming next layer. So all the tissues inside the endodermis constitute stele. Now pericycle. Stele starts from pericycle. That is outermost layer of stele because all the tissue lying inner to endodermis. So endodermis is not a part of stele. The cells usually, it will be cylindrical. Either parenchymatous, then it will be thin wall, or thick wall, then it will be sclerenchymatous or sclerenchyma. Pericycle will be either single or multi-layered. Similarly, thin wall or thick wall. Pericycle may appear as patches, like segments. Pericycle usually absent in monocot stem. Its function include mechanical support, storage, connected with the secondary thickening, specifically in dicot root, etc. Now, second aspect is lateral root arises from pericycle. Stele starts from pericycle, lateral roots arise from pericycle. Two important questions. Now, these are again all NCERT diagram where we can find this is the endodermis. There you can find a line. This line is called Casparian strips. I think idea. And this is showing apoplast and symplast movement, but it is not there in the syllabus. This is the endodermal band. Two beautiful diagram, but presently it is not in NCERT. Now comes next item, pith. Another name for pith is medulla. It usually occupies center of the dicot stem, both the monocot and dicot root. But in monocot stem, we cannot say pith because since vascular bundles are scattered in monocot stem. So pith will not be distinct. We cannot identify the pith. Pith mainly contains parenchyma cells, large cells having intercellular spaces. But in composite rastraceae, sunflower family, It is containing sclerenchymatous cell. Main function of pith is to store nutrients and water. Some scientists suggest it may also involve in healing process of the wounds. In many of the dicots, extension of the pith can be seen. Extension of pith can be seen. The outer layer of pith extends between vascular bundles, even contact with the pericycle. These extensions appear like rays, R-A-Y-S, and that is why they are called pith rays, otherwise called medullary rays. So pith rays and medullary rays are the same. A very large, well-developed pith is seen in monocot root. This is connected with the secondary thickening, but again, in present NCERT, the topic is not there, but here you can find medullary rays or pith rays here. For that only I put this two diagrams, NCERT, previous NCERT diagram. Now after this, we can find 5 theory question, 5 NEET model question with the key. So we can just rewind what all things we learned in anatomy of flowering plants, third one. So when we discuss anatomy of flowering plants, third one, main items we discussed. One is introduction, then tissue system, question, tissue system, vascular tissue system not included. That will be the next episode. Introduction, what we'll be learning in this tissue system, why the term, what is it, how it is connected with the function and location, efficiency. Then 3 types coming under tissue system: epidermal tissue system, ground or fundamental tissue system, vascular tissue system. Now, epidermal tissue system. Epi means above, dermis means layer, and it contains 3 types of structures: epidermal cell, epidermal structures, epidermal appendages. Cells means outer epidermis, that is the layer. Then parenchymatous, etc. Then cuticle present, but in roots and hydrophytes, cuticle is absent. Multilayer epidermis in certain plants like peperomia, begonia, orchid, nerium, velamen, etc. Velamen of orchids. Now comes monocot leaf. In monocot leaves, usually the upper epidermis has certain specialized cells called bulliform cells or motor cells causing lengthwise curling, prevent water loss. Then root epidermis, rhizodermis, pilifossorial epiblema. Then epidermal structure, of which main item is stomata, stomatal apparatus, structure of dicot stomata and monocot stomata. Then labeling diagram, opening and closing, guard cells. Then here, to give the strength, cellulose microfibers readily arranged. Then epidermal appendages, under which we pass through root hairs and stem hairs. Root hair forming cells are called trichoblasts. Stem hairs are called trichomes. Then next item was ground or fundamental tissue system, main bulk of the plant body. Then different layers in that. Epidermal tissue will not be there. Vascular tissue system will not be there. In between, rest all. Parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma cells will be involved. Various zones due to size. In leaves, the mesophyll is ground of fundamental tissue system. Then can be identified into 3 parts: cortex, pericycle, and pith. Now, cortex starts with the below epidermis, 3 areas: hypodermis, general cortex, endodermis. And after that, each item, hypodermis, it is sclerenchymatous, or it can be collenchymatous, depending on dicot stem and monocot stem. Then outermost layer, below epidermis. Then in roots, hypodermis is absent, usually single or can be multi-layer. Then general cortex, that is after hypodermis, next is general cortex. Roots, no hypodermis. Then after that, if chloroplast present, photons will be helping storage of food material also there. Then endodermis, an important area, innermost layer of cortex. Then still all the tissue lying inner to endodermis still starts from pericycle. Then still components include pericycle, vascular bundle, and pith. So endodermis lies in between general cortex and steel. Then we entered into a famous term, that is Casparian strip. Endodermal cells are living. Since starch grain may be there, it is called starch sheath. Casparian strip came from the scientist's name, Robert Caspary. It is suberin in nature. Then water impermeable. So water enters in those areas through passage cell where that suberin is absent. Then after that, pericycle. Steel starts from pericycle. That is the outermost layer of steel. Then shape, nature of the cells, parenchymatous. It can be thin wall, then sclerenchymatous, then it will be thick wall. Thin, a single layer or multi-layer. Then pericycle may appear as patches. Pericycle usually absent in monocot stem. Functions like mechanical support, storage, etc. Then connected with the secondary thickening, but that aspect we are not studying in present syllabus. Lateral root arises from pericycle, so famous diagram. This endodermis, here it is, Casparian strip we can find. This is apoplast and symplast movement, presently not in syllabus. Then pith, another name is medulla, usually occupies in dicot stem. Then monocot and dicot root. Monocot stem, we cannot distinguish it. It is scattered. Vascular bundle cell is scattered. Then pith mainly contains parenchyma cells, intercellular space. But in composite and astrace, it will be sclerenchymatous. Then next is main function of pith is to store nutrients and water. Some scientists say it may help in healing of the wound. Then in dicots, extension of pith can be seen. The outer layers of pith extends between vascular bundle, even contact with the pericycle. This extends appears like rays called pith rays or medullary rays. Then the diagram you can find the this diagram not in present NCERT. It is kind of the second thing where you can find pith rays or medullary rays. Then after that, you can find 5 theory question, 5 NEET model question with the key. If you like this episode, like it, subscribe or comment on it. We can meet in the next episode. So take care. Bye. Thanks.